up at about 25,000 feet. The flagpole is just sitting out there limp. As you mentioned, the wind is even less than 3 knots right here. We have some lower broken clouds, but that's just offshore right over the flight range ship, which reported just some few scattered to broken clouds. You see there the flagpole, no wind to speak of. So the weather here at Cape Kennedy is just, at the Kennedy Space Center, is just about perfect. And in the primary landing zone out at Edwards Air Force Base, there too, the weather is almost ideal with high, thin, scattered clouds, winds at about 8 to 10 knots out of the southwest. The visibility is perfect. At all the contingency zones at the Northrop Strip, the weather there too is just about perfect. And all the other zones, Kadena, Hickam, Rhoda, not as good, but the primary zones for the most part are excellent. So the weather is just cooperating. Gentlemen?
The astronauts have been up now for about 3.5 hours, and they have made their way to the spacecraft, and they are buttoned up inside as of now, and they've been checking out the communications facilities that they have and other things. They had a slight problem earlier with some breathing apparatus that was quickly solved, and we have a report now from Ike Siemens on how they spent these last 3.5 hours.
Them for steak and eggs were NASA officials and former astronaut Harrison Schmitt, now a United States Senator from New Mexico. Meanwhile, at the launch pad, floodlights made the space shuttle gleam in the early morning darkness as tiny bits of hydrogen and oxygen were pumped into the tanks to replace amounts being boiled away. Young and Crippen were already into their pressure suits. Crippen stuffed his pockets with information he'll need during the flight. John Young tried on his space helmet for last-minute adjustments. Doctors had attached instruments to the astronauts to measure their vital signs. They're in good shape. Even at the height of the problems during the first launch attempt on Friday, both men had very low pulse rates. When they left to board Columbia, well-wishers gave them a send-off. Then, for the second time, Young and Crippen climbed into Columbia for their ride into orbit. Someone in the firing room radioed them and jokingly apologized for the stale sandwiches in the box lunches left over from Friday's aborted flight. Throughout the final countdown this morning, NASA spokesman Hugh Harris said again and again, things are going smoothly. Everyone here hopes that continues. Ike Siemens, NBC News at the Kennedy Space Center.
Well, John Young ought to be familiar with stale sandwiches. He was the astronaut, of course, who reportedly took along a corned beef sandwich on one of the Gemini missions. We'll be back with continuing coverage. We're going to show you the clock now as the countdown continues. There will be holds built in. It doesn't mean that we're going to launch in 25 minutes. They're going to have a 20-minute hold and then a 10-minute hold. We'll have more from the Kennedy Space Center and the launching of the Columbia Space Shuttle after this.
Sunday on Chips, Hodge races to save a go-kart menace from disaster. Then, 5 major motion pictures will be about swords and sorcerers this summer. This Sunday, you can see the first. It's warriors, demons, and goddesses in a gigantic clash. Fugitive from the Empire, a world premiere. You've never seen anything like it on television.
The Byron Players will present the award-winning musical Fiddler on the Roof, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the Byron High School Gymnasium at 8 p.m.
Tickets for these performances may be purchased from students at the door or by calling the school at 234-3611.
We, in the cast of 75, would like to invite you to attend these performances of America's greatest musical.
We hope to see you there. Mazel tov!
Fiddler on the Roof, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Byron High School Gymnasium. Don't miss it.
Hi, this is Lola Falana. I'm on the Monte Carlo show this week with Patrick Wayne, Plume, and Miguel, along with the best array of the world's talent. I'm having the time of my life. Join us, and you will too. This week on the Monte Carlo show.
This is Roy Rogers.
And Dale Evans.
And the Salvation Army helps many people to come back, capable of supporting their loved ones.
And you can help just by calling the Salvation Army truck. If you have any items you're no longer using, won't you please put them to good use? Call the Salvation Army truck.
Tonight. If there's room in your heart and home for a deserving dog or cat, then now's the time to visit Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary on North 1st. Big or small, canine or feline, they all need and very much deserve your love. In return, they'll give you countless hours of joy.
There are a lot of eyes keeping track of the Columbia Space Shuttle and the two astronauts who are now in place out there. Not just the electronic eyes of our television cameras, but hundreds of thousands of people who came here Friday were disappointed that the launch didn't go off, and many of them stuck around. We get a report now on the crowd situation surrounding Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center from Nadine Stewart.
Well, I'm sitting here playing and watching the cars go by. I'm sitting and wondering if that old shuttle would fly. If I had to drive back here, I think I will die.
History's being made.
I want to be right there.
Right.
Well,
it's being made.
It was the second time around, but there was no feeling of anticlimax around the Cape this morning. The shuttle had become a symbol. Everyone waiting for liftoff had a personal interest in seeing it go up.
Well, I'd like to be an astronaut, but, you know, it takes a lot of courage, and I'd be scared to go up there right now.
Anybody can see it on TV, but I got the chance to be here live, so I really see it live.
There were traffic jams again, lines that looked like New York rush hour at its worst. A small city had sprung up again around the launch. Everyone had a sense of being part of history, and everyone wanted to record the moment from his own vantage point. Many were seeing their first launch, but Mary Bubb has seen them all, and she's made a special hat for every one of them, especially this one.
Well, I started in the beach days way back with a lot of friends of mine who were here tonight. There's a lot of gathering of the clan. This is way back in the late 50s when they were starting in missiles, you know. And I've seen more launches than anybody else here. And everyone is just as exciting, but this means more to me than any other, I think.
It was a carnival, a show that will have one run only. But it was more than that. These people were here because they believe in the shuttle, and they wanted to show it.
If it flies, it'll be a brand new day.
What does it mean to me? A whole opening up of a new world.
I was here to see the space shuttle.
Nadine Stewart, NBC News, Cape Canaveral.
We're waiting now for the launch control to announce a 20-minute hold. During that 20-minute hold, they will adjust the countdown clock, Tom, as you know, and they will adjust the clock so that the spaceship Columbia will take off just at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're just coming up to the announcement now. Let's listen.
Other aircraft and also chase planes. The chase planes will not take off until later at the T-minus 9-minute hold period, with the final plane being launched at T-minus 5 minutes with a very, very tight constraint there. Coming up on the hold, T-minus 20 minutes and holding.
So that's it. This is a 20-minute hold, and they will do a number of things, readying the so-called chase planes.
We're at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. And we'll have a number of things happen. Verification that the shuttle landing facility convoy preparations are ready. And we also will have another weather briefing to ensure that everything is go. But as it is now, we know of no problems which would prevent a liftoff on time at 7 a.m. this morning. The T-minus 20 minutes and holding. This is shuttle launch control.
Yeah, among other things, during this 20-minute hold, they'll be activating the computers that gave them so much trouble the other day. We'll be talking about that in just a few moments with astronaut Joe Kerwin. We have Bob Bazell standing by now down in the VIP area. There are a lot of people who came from Washington and across the country to watch the launch on Friday. Not all of them stuck around, obviously. Or I guess that's the situation, Bob.
It seems that way. It's much less crowded today, even though NASA chartered a plane for the second time. They chartered a plane bringing down a bunch of people from Washington at about a cost to the taxpayers of about $100,000. I have with me here a VIP and from the VIP area who didn't come on the plane. It's Steven Spielberg, the man who made the movie Jaws, and more important, I guess, for our purposes today, the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, science fiction movie about meeting people from other planets. Right. How does the reality here compare to your fantasies?
This is a reality which is much more expensive than my imagination. This is the best kind of reality because it's going to get the space program back on both feet and right into the 21st century. So it's really a rather remarkable day.
How do you feel about being here? Have you seen a launch before? A real?
Never seen a launch before. I've seen a launch with small ships about 7 inches, but I've only seen special effect launches. Nothing like this. No.
Is there things you've seen here that's going to maybe influence what you do in the films in the future?
Well, I think what's really influential here is the enthusiasm. It's really great to know that there are so many people who believe in getting off Earth for various scientific or even fantasy reasons, and it reinforces my belief in science fiction even more.
You have some space reserved on the shuttle, don't you?
I have some space. The next shuttle that carries the canisters. I have a small canister.
That's right. These are these packages that you can buy for, what, $60,000 or $30,000?
No, I think they range from between $20,000 and $30,000, yeah.
What are you going to put in this canister now that you have a chance to send something up in space?
You're putting me on the spot. I have a few ideas, but nothing definite yet. I want it certainly to be it has to be an experimental unit, and it has to evidence some good. And I'm not quite sure what. I have a few producers I'd like to put up, but that's not permitted yet.
We have some. I have some producers I'd like to put up too. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Spielberg. John?
Little inflation there, I think.
Well, yeah, actually you can buy, if you're interested, a space on a little compartment on the shuttle for $3,000, and a number of people have bought them, and some, and I'm not sure about Mr. Spielberg, have been given those spaces to use for various purposes, and he hasn't decided what he's going to do with it. The last word we've had from launch control is that the weather here, which is the one variable we're now working with, is satisfactory. So we'll be back with more after this.
Time now. Place, any road, USA. Action, creation of a new personal sport coupe, Ford EXP. The bringing together of you and a beautiful package of world-class technologies. An interior thoughtfully contoured for your driving pleasure, carefully instrumented to keep you informed. With handling and road command that come from front-wheel drive and four-wheel independent suspension. And EXP's a 2+, personal, practical, with room for 2+ your gear, room for 2+, a lot of room for a lot of living, with a shape so subtle it slices the wind. And built with Ford's commitment to quality. Tomorrow is here, the 1982 EXP from the world of Ford.
Here in the sea, billions of years ago, life began an odyssey that will reach across space and time. I'm Arthur C. Clarke, speaking for Omni magazine. I know that even the sea is not eternal, but the life it spawned will survive, for man's destiny lies among the stars, in the endlessly unfolding universe of Omni magazine.
Omni, the multi-award-winning magazine of science, fact, and fiction, on sale now everywhere.
Okay, I'm beautiful. Now, on to the party.
Well, I want proof of this.
No, you don't. We're late already.
Don't worry, this is the world's fastest developing color. You see it in seconds now, not minutes.
Made for each other. Well, there's your proof. Go on, get it all out of your system.
The Time Zero One-Step and Time Zero Supercolor film are made for each other. That's why they both come in Polaroid's new Made for Each Other pack.
Feel better now?
Okay, let's go.
You taking that to the party?
Why not? I'm taking you.
Made for each other.
We're just listening to the launch control, and we are told that the weather aircraft are up and the weather is satisfactory. Things are going well. When the Space Shuttle Columbia lifts off the pad here and goes into its path toward orbit, the control will switch to the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, and that will be the control for this flight during the 54 and a half hours of the flight. Roy Neal is in Houston now at the Space Center. Roy, are you there?
Yes, indeed, John. We've been following avidly all those things that you and Tom have been reporting from there at the Cape, and fascinated by the crowds and the things that have turned out. Here in Houston, it's still dark outside, and the visitors haven't shown up yet. They were here in droves yesterday, and we expect they'll be back later today. Of course, the visitors see all sorts of nice things, but they don't see what we see, which is in mission control. And I'd like to show you some of those people right now with some special emphasis on a few of them. This is the take in mission control showing guidance and navigation, and they're typical of television. The minute you come in for a close-up, Dick Fitz, the guidance and navigation control officer, gets up and walks away. This is the larger view showing them poised, ready to leap, as it were, and there's a feeling here this morning, a strong feeling that we are really going to go today, and the we in this case means the NASA people, these people who hope that within the next 45 minutes or so they will be controlling a flight from space. Throughout all of yesterday and the day before, ever since the postponement, there's been a great deal of a study going on here, and now they believe they have the computer problems resolved completely, and so far this morning they're waiting for this point in that countdown, Tom, to see what happens.
Thank you, Roy. We're going to talk about some of those pesky computers with Joe Kerwin.
Joe Kerwin, ladies and gentlemen, is now going to explain the computers. Stand by.
I'm a terrible artist, but I tried, and I think I understand this drawing, and I'm going to try to make you understand it. On the spacecraft, we have a set of prime computers, 4 of them, and we have a 5th identical computer loaded with totally different software, which is the backup computer. Now, when you wake these computers up at some 30 hours before launch, the first thing they do is yawn and stretch and say, I wonder what time it is. And they check, they send a signal to our master timing unit on board the spacecraft, a highly accurate clock, requesting its count time, and it gives them a return signal saying what time it is right then. And then they synchronize with the master timing unit. Now out here I've shown these numbers represent minor computer cycles, which are 1/25 of a second apart, okay? And the timing unit is going to tell the prime computer that it's at timing, minor cycle 1 or 2 or 3 or so on up to 25. Now, it depends where in that minor cycle the timer is when the computer tries to synchronize to it. If it's near the beginning here, it's fine. It'll synchronize back to number 1. If it's near the end, it'll jump ahead and synchronize to number 2. If it's right spang in the middle, there is a small statistical chance that it could synchronize back when it should have synchronized forward, or the reverse. And what will happen in that case is that the master timing unit is on one time cycle, and the prime computer, all 4 of them are on another cycle, 40 milliseconds different. Since they're all on the same one, they're happy, but the backup computer, when it gets started, also goes to the master timing unit, and on the very likely assumption that it times up correctly, it's now 40 milliseconds apart from the primes.
That's what happened yesterday?
That's what happened on Friday. So what the big deal is then, if you can see the bottom of the chart, I've exploded 2 of these minor cycles and showed you with the little blips that during each minor cycle, certain data is taken in by the computer and fed from the primes across to the backups. Most of it's the same every minor cycle, but every now and then you get one that's different. And if that different one doesn't come on the cycle expected, the backup computer says the prime computers are wrong, and it drops them out.
And that's what happened. And what they couldn't do, as you were explaining to me earlier, they couldn't shut them all down and start them up again because they had such a volatile situation out on the pad, and they control all the systems on the spacecraft, and if trouble had developed while they were down, they wouldn't have been able to find it out.
They were too late in the count, yeah.
All right, there it is. I understand it, and if I understand it, anyone can't believe me at this point.
There'll be a quiz later.
We'll have continuing coverage here from the Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral. There will not be a quiz, believe me, as we continue after this.
NBC's coverage of the first space shuttle will continue in a moment.
Hello, I'm Ruth Barclay, inviting you to May Fantasy, a spring gala to benefit Rosecrans Memorial Homes for Children. Join us Friday, May 1st at the Clock Tower Inn for an evening of dinner, dancing, and entertainment. Dinner is at 7:30. Entertainment includes the pipe band of the Scottish Education Society and the New Glarus Edelweiss Stars. You can dance till midnight to the music of Jack Trineri and the sounds of brass. For reservations or more information, please call these numbers.
She became a star because it was the only way she could do it. Sissy Spacek,
Tommy Lee Jones, Coal Miner's Daughter, rated PG.
See Sissy Spacek in her Oscar-winning role as Loretta Lynn in Coal Miner's Daughter this weekend at the River Lane Drive-In Theater, along with the co-hit The Idolmaker, starring Ray Sharkey as a man turning nobodies into singing sensations. Coal Miner's Daughter and The Idolmaker this weekend at the River Lane.
It's the best in motion pictures, now showing at Cherryvale 1. It's Harry's War, rated PG, the story of a man who declares war on the government. At Cherryvale 2, a mysterious creature is on the loose in The Howling, rated R. Tess, rated PG, is now in its 4th week at Cherryvale 3. Thomas Hardy's classic tale of a young woman victimized by society. At the Times, it's Excalibur, rated R, a new epic about the life of King Arthur. Now at the Robin, it's 1941 with John Belushi, Coal Miner's Daughter starring Sissy Spacek, and the Friday and Saturday bonus, Rich Kids. All 3 are rated PG. At the Sunset, it's an evening with Bruce Lee, The Chinese Connection, and Fists of Fury. And the Friday and Saturday bonus is The Hollywood Nights. And all movies are rated R. Now at the Dixon Theater, it's the great hit from last winter, Stir Crazy, with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, rated R. Harry's War, rated PG, is now at the State Theater in Freeport. For the best movies anywhere, attend the Northern Illinois theaters.
Back here at the Kennedy Space Center, we are on a planned hold for the launching of the Columbia Space Shuttle, and it is all proceeding smoothly. There is a question of danger, however, in this flight. Those questions have been raised as a result of 2 factors. 1, there have been a number of problems in the preparation for this launch, and 2, there has been no unmanned testing of the launch of the Columbia Space Shuttle. So Roy Neal went to 5 of the key people at NASA, and they asked him whether the critics were right when they said that NASA is exposing these astronauts to unnecessary risks by putting them up there before they have an unmanned
Well, I
flight.
certainly don't agree we're taking any unnecessary risk. I think the risks that are being taken here are quite justifiable, very much the same as you have test pilots fly an airplane for the first time. In fact, I think it really enhances the probability of overall success by having the people on board. So, no, I don't think there's anything at all unjustified about what's being done here.
Let me answer that, Roy, by saying this. I've been involved in the manned program for 21 years now, and I've never felt as comfortable about a first manned launch on any of the programs I've been involved with as I do on this one, even in spite of the fact that the first launch is the manned launch. But this flight hardware is in really apple pie order. I tend to think of it as the kind of shape that normally the 3rd or 4th flight hardware's in. It's really that good, much better than previous first flights.
Yes, we are flying manned the first time, but I believe we've done more to get ready and taken more precautions than any other previous first flight. And when you look at the fact of that risk and weigh to a certain extent what man can do for you in that mission, that it's the right decision to fly that first one manned. I think we've enhanced the entire program the most, and we really have not unduly jeopardized the man in the first flight.
No, I don't believe we're taking any risks. I think that as far as we can tell and as everything we know about it, I think we feel very comfortable with the spacecraft systems and the structure and the procedures that we're going to follow. I think we understand how to fly the machine. I think the people on the ground understand how to operate the machine with the crew in flight. I think that if we knew anything else to do, we would have done it. And in the time we've had, certainly in the last year in preparing for this flight, we feel very comfortable with flying the machine.
I guess the best answer that I can give you to that, Roy, is that I certainly will not approve it if I don't feel that way. And right now, I feel that it is a safe a flight as it is humanly possible to make it.
And it looks as though they are going to make it in about 33 minutes, all going smoothly here. We'll be back with more after this.
Debbie.
Hi.
Hold it. Nobody gets in without a mugshot. Just follow the noise. Polaroid's new Time Zero is the world's fastest developing color film. There you go. Oh, good. Seems like you see these pictures as fast as you take them. Use them as place cards, and everybody who's forgotten his name will know just where to sit.
Not necessarily.
What does that mean?
What if they forget what they look like?
Well, that's what the pictures are for.
I'm Arthur C. Clarke, speaking for Omni Magazine. On the first day of January, 2001, the second millennium ends and the third begins. What kind of world will greet that first day of the new era? This is the world of Omni Magazine. From the creation of new life forms to the conquest of the stars, Omni focuses upon the ultimate frontier towards which man must inevitably direct the infinite resources of his mind.
The new world car, Ford Escort, now shows you another face. The sporty Ford Escort SS. It shows its stripes, pulls with front-wheel drive, handles with rack and pinion steering, smooths with four-wheel independent suspension, informs and invites. The sporty Ford Escort SS, built in America to take on the world, and doing it.
There's just one place where you can go from high school to flight school, the Army.
Oh, yeah. Keep on reaching. Keep on growing.
Today's Army has more pilots than the largest airline.
Not bad for a rookie.
We are back. If you just joined us here, Tom Brokaw and I and Joseph Kerwin. Dr. Kerwin is an astronaut here covering the launch, which we now believe will happen, of the Space Shuttle here at the Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral. Everything is going according to schedule. It's all on. The computer problem that they had yesterday, or day before, was fixed. The computers actually have been on, and some of the things that would be going on in the countdown now have already been done. We are coming to the end now of a 20-minute planned hold in the countdown, and in about 15 or 20 seconds, the clock that you see on your screen will start to move again as we get close to the countdown. Liftoff is scheduled for just about 30 minutes from now exactly. There will be one more
and we're at
planned
T-minus
hold.
20 minutes
Let's listen.
and counting. A purge of the fuel cells, which provide both electricity for the orbiter and drinking water for the crew, is being performed. At this point, the computer is changed to a program known as Major Mode 101, which is the terminal countdown configuration. At this point, the primary computer is compared with the proper onboard computer to ensure that they are ready for launch. The NASA convoy conductor has verified that the landing convoy at the KSC Shuttle landing facility is ready. In case of a return to launch site abort, the landing would be on runway 15. All of the other launch sites also have confirmed that they are ready to go. Just prior to coming out of the hold, we received verification that the pre-flight alignment of the inertial measurement unit had also been completed. And so everything moving along smoothly. The countdown at T-minus 18 minutes, 56 seconds, and counting. This is Shuttle Launch Control.
And Joe Kerwin, something should have happened there at about 19. They should have put on that backup computer.
That's
they've
right.
had trouble twice before. That's the
right.
point where they do it. And we'll know whether they had any trouble again.
In just a moment, yeah. They've been a little bit ahead.
We're listening now to conversation between...
COSC, go ahead. Step 633, turn on your own. CVC active 1 and 2 power. Yes, and what? CDPS OTC, go ahead. 641. That's affirmative, we have verified that. Okay. OTC, this is CDPS. Go ahead. We verified tracking all 4 strings. That's good work.
That's it.
Okay, is that good? Good signal.
It worked.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That means the computers are working.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's where we had trouble not only Friday, but in one earlier test as well, at that very point when they brought on the backup computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the countdown can now continue. There is another planned hold that you have to be aware of. We're not going to launch in 17 minutes and 46 seconds. They'll hold again for about 10 minutes. And more people are watching around here as well, John, including a lot of people who worked on this project.
Yes, it's quite a day for them. The number of the workers who helped assemble this whole enterprise here today are down here with their families to watch it go. They came 2 days ago. They're here this morning. It looks as though they will see it go this morning, and we've got a little report on those workers now.
You're looking at one positive result of Friday's launch delay. Traffic control and crowd control here have improved dramatically following that dry run. Many of the same people we saw Friday have returned once again to the bank of the Banana River, mostly Space Center workers and their families and more. Police are expecting bigger crowds today since it's a weekend. They should have a spectacular view of the launch 5 miles from here. Especially spectacular because it will be different, according to veteran launch watchers like Charlie Johnson, who's with me here. Mr. Johnson, why do you expect this launch, or how do you expect this launch to be different from all the others you've seen before?
The giant Saturn V was a single huge unit, about 38 stories tall, and when it went up, it had a single great flame coming from the bottom. This unit will have 3 different sets of flames striking the pad. The pad will have about a foot-thick wall of water on it that will condense immediately into steam. It may look as though the whole thing was blowing up at first, but it will be steam coming up, not smoke. And the unit will soon rise above this, and then you'll very clearly see, I believe, the 3 great jets of flame coming down. It'll do a little twist as it goes up, and that should be quite interesting to watch. I don't think anybody knows exactly what to expect to see, but it should be interesting.
Such enthusiasm, and also the fact that no one knows exactly what to expect, it would probably help explain why these tens of thousands of people have sat in traffic all night and slept on the ground out here to watch something that will last less than 2 minutes. This is Jim Cummins with a big crowd of people 5 miles from the launch site.
Thank you very much, Jim. We just have been hearing from Hugh Harris here at the Kennedy Space Center that they had a little cheer when the backup computer and the 4 primary computers began talking to each other, and they were all in synchronization. The computers are working. That was the problem on Friday. It is not a problem this morning. That does not mean that other problems could not develop, but so far it does appear to be a very clear road right now to a launch at 7 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. Things are in good shape. The astronauts are in the Columbia Shuttle, and we'll continue with our coverage of the launch of the Columbia Shuttle right after this.
NBC's coverage of the first space shuttle will continue in a moment.
Do you know the minimum wage is $3.35 an hour for most workers?
That's the mustard.
And I get time and a half for every hour over 40.
Did you say $3.35 an hour? No, I said pass the mustard. You get time and a half for every hour over 40? No, I get the chicken salad sandwich.
If you're doing work covered by the federal minimum wage law, you're entitled to all the benefits.
Ask your boss. She'll tell you all about it.
Or contact the Wage and Hour Division, U.S. Department of Labor.
From your American Lung Association for your life and breath. Ken Singleton's a straight hitter.
There's one particular set of body equipment that's got to be in top shape. That goes for all you athletes, pro or amateur. Your lungs.
And that means no smoking.
If you haven't started, don't. If you have,
you can get help from your local American Lung Association. Ask them about their new Freedom from Smoking program to help you kick the habit on your own. It's a matter of life and breath.
I need help on these taxes, so let the IRS figure it out.
We already have. And the instructions that came with our tax forms.
IRS, would you hold?
Your questions about tax credits, income averaging, and the clothes we gave the church bazaar, the answers are all here. Maybe you should read the instructions first.
Bye.
We're people serving people just like you. IRS.
These people are driving up the cost of your medical care, not by what they're doing, but what they're saying. Bill doesn't have a regular doctor. He uses emergency rooms. Nancy figures the hospital is a good place for a short vacation, and George thinks insurance will pay the bill. Expensive conversation, isn't it? Your doctor is trying to hold down rising costs. Why not ask him how you can help? It might be one of the most important conversations you've ever had. A message from the Illinois State Medical Society.
We're back at the Kennedy Space Center where all things are proceeding smoothly toward a 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time launch of the Columbia Space Shuttle. And in place and on board are astronauts John Young and Robert Crippen. They have a combined total, by the way, of 31 years as astronauts. They began their careers, each of them as Navy pilots, and each has logged thousands of hours of flying time, including some hours here in the past 48 hours between the delayed launch of Friday and today's scheduled launch. There is one big difference between the two of them, of course. Crippen has not been in space before. Young, a veteran, has been up there 4 times before. So even though Crippen is only 7 years younger than John Young, he's a kind of space rookie, the kid on this flight, and Young is the wily old veteran. And that can lead to some funny moments between the two of them, as Heidi Schulman found out when she prepared this profile of astronauts Young and Crippen.
Hey, John, after this flight, are you going to give up and stop flying? You going to leave it for those younger folk?
Space flight is the old man's business.
At 50, John Young is certainly not an old man, yet the fact that he jokes about his age and its possible effect on his profession tells you something about him. He doesn't seem to worry about matters he can't control. Someone once said of Young that he's an amusing bundle of contradictions, a man both witty and aloof, a man who likes adventure but dislikes the outdoors. He is totally dedicated, but on the flight of Gemini 3, Young took a corned beef sandwich from his pocket and offered a bite to his startled commander, the late Virgil Grissom. Gemini 3 in 1965 was Young's first space flight. Since then, he has been to the moon and back, and in his 19 years as an astronaut, he has left a profound personal mark on this country's space program. In 1966, Young commanded Gemini 10 with Michael Collins. That mission advanced the techniques of spaceflight by docking with an unmanned Agena rocket. Just about everyone remembers Apollo 11, the flight that put Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin on the moon. Apollo 10, with Young, Thomas Stafford, and Eugene Cernan, had been the final rehearsal. On that flight, the lunar module came within 9.5 miles of the moon's surface, so near and yet so far. Young finally made it to the moon in April of 1972, the flight of Apollo 16. Riding his so-called moon buggy on the lunar surface, Young radioed back to the Space Center in Houston. We've just set a new world speed record, 17 kilometers an hour on the moon. He spent 20 hours exploring the moon's surface. Young and Robert Crippen have been training for their space shuttle flight for more than 2 years. Crippen is 43. He has been an astronaut since 1969. This will be his first space flight, but during his 12 years in the program, Crippen has, as the saying goes, paid his dues. He was part of the crew in a 56-day Skylab medical experiments altitude test, a simulation of future Skylab missions. Later, Crippen was a member of the support team for 3 Skylab flights, plus the Apollo-Soyuz mission in 1975. Their training for the space shuttle flight has involved 25 hours of formal instruction each week, plus a total of more than 1,200 hours working in elaborate mock-ups of Columbia's flight deck. Crippen points out that some of the problems that have delayed the mission were a benefit in one sense. They gave both men more time to plan and practice for just about any contingency, for that unexpected moment when something might just go wrong. Or as Young puts it, if you're not nervous, you don't understand what's happening. Heidi Schulman, NBC News.
Now you're looking at the space shuttle and its solid fuel boosters and the big tank filled with liquid oxygen and hydrogen, and the clock is stopped. The planned hold at 9 minutes away from launch is in effect now. It will last about 10 minutes.
The orbiter test conductor that they are
Let's listen to the launch control.
At the present time, we know of no major problems as we enter this final 10-minute build-in hold.
They will, an arm that you see there at the top, can we just see the picture back again for a second, please, Walter? That arm, an arm up there that's called the oxygen venting arm will be withdrawn during this hold, and the rest of the connections that they have with the spacecraft itself will be withdrawn. They will also start the countdown clock at this point, a very precise clock, because some of these operations in the launching of the space shuttle are done within seconds. They come in a sequence that is hundredths of seconds apart. And the countdown clock is very important. They're doing that now. Everything seems to be going very well, Tom.
Yeah, let's talk to Joe a few moments about what we might expect once they begin the ignition and some of the critical points that will hit during the T-9 countdown.
Once the clock starts counting again, we'll be getting into new territory that we unfortunately didn't get to Friday. They've already got the 9-minute go for launch, and I'm sure that was a trip around the room both in the Launch Control Center and at Houston, which is ready. At 5 minutes, they start the hydraulic power units. That's a very critical point because they're fuel critical. They're used to control the engines and control surfaces during launching and entry. 3.5 minutes, the fuel cells take the full power load, and at 25 seconds before launch, the general purpose computers take over the launch, and it's automatic from now.
We're looking at some venting right now in the external tank.
Yeah.
That is going on.
Yeah, that tall tank in the middle of your picture there has more than 500,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and oxygen in it, and that's a little bit of the venting that occurs naturally. That's not a difficulty that we're seeing there. That's the natural venting of that. It makes a little gas in the morning air.
The other thing I think that we ought to say, Joe, warn our viewers that we'll see ignition of the main rocket engines of the orbiter before we'll see the solid rocket boosters go off. It's about a 3-second difference between the
3.5, maybe 4 seconds. The clock goes slightly past zero. Those engines have to be running and verified. When the solids ignite, they recycle the clock back about a half a second to zero, and off you go. Because once you light the solids, you are gone.
We got a minute to talk about the Rainbirds. I think that's something else that's very interesting here. When this particular rocket ship, spaceship, is very close to the pad. The others have been quite a distance away, but this is right down there. And so when all those engines go off, it makes an enormous amount of noise. So much noise in terms of decibels that it could shake that thing to pieces. So what they are doing is they are damping that sound down with hundreds of thousands of gallons of water that are poured in there. The water has nothing to do with the flames that you will see. It has to do with the sound that's being made so that the sound of this spaceship doesn't tear the spaceship apart when it goes off. And that's called Rainbirds, and you may hear them mentioning Rainbirds, but that's what it's called. It's an acoustic damping system.
So much power involved in all of this that a lot of people have likened it to the launching of a Roman candle. You fire those solid rocket boosters and off she goes. We'll see a much faster ascent than what we've been used to in the space program before.
Yes, we will. Quite a bit faster. And as John said, a lot of vibration in those first 3 seconds. If all the systems get through that all right, they're going to go all the way.
The launch director is about to speak to the crew.
Okay, let's listen to that.
The launch director is talking to his team about the launch commit criteria at the present time.
I guess we're not going to hear that.
All right, we'll be back with continuing coverage of the launching of the Columbia Space Shuttle from the Kennedy Space Center right after this.
Why do we call Fairmont the Great American Family Wagon? Just ask the Wileys, the Careys, and the Goultos, the Lawsons, O'Toole's, and the Mitos, the Williams, the Golds, and Iversons, the Jacksons, the Whites, and Andersons. Great mileage, great looks, and great room for the money. It's made our wagon the best seller in America, and it's helped make Ford Fairmont the Great American Family Car.
Here in the sea, billions of years ago, life began an odyssey that will reach across space and time. I'm Arthur C. Clarke, speaking for Omni magazine. I know that even the sea is not eternal, but the life it spawned will survive, for man's destiny lies among the stars, in the endlessly unfolding universe of Omni magazine.
Omni, the multi-award-winning magazine of science, fact, and fiction, on sale now everywhere.
Outside, the Canon NP200 may look like any small copier, but inside there's a world of difference, a world of micronics, where 20 copies a minute are not only possible, but made reliable with a microcomputer. Fiber optics precisely defines your image, and a toner projection system gives you clear copies on virtually any paper. Up to 11 by 17, compact in size and price, the Canon NP200 is definitely worth looking into.
With my arthritis, getting in and out of the tub can be frightening. But with arthritis strength bufferin, I can ease the minor pain for hours, move better. It gives me extra strength when the arthritis first flares up. But arthritis strength bufferin adds extra protection from stomach upset ordinary aspirin can cause. Sure feels good to have the extras of arthritis strength bufferin.
Arthritis strength bufferin. Extra strength, extra protection.
A lot of luck. We're with you 1,000%. And we're awful proud of being a part of it.
A message from the president is being read to the astronauts at this moment, and we are also told from the White House that President Reagan got up at 6:15 Eastern Time this morning to watch this shot. Good morning, Mr. President. We also have Roy Neal standing by in Houston to talk about the mission. Roy, are you there?
Yes, I am, John, and at the moment we're standing by here, even as you. You're going to hear something different in a few minutes, too, at liftoff. You'll hear a voice change as launch control at the Cape gives way to mission control here in Houston. Hugh Harris, who's been doing the reporting job from there, will be replaced by John McLeish here. And Neil Hutchinson, centered in this picture, the fellow in the blue shirt with the beard that's pushing buttons right now. Neil Hutchinson, the flight director, and his team will assume control of the entire operation. Hutchinson here has been checking, going round the horn is the expression they use, and they're getting green lights on all consoles, meaning there's nothing to delay the launch as mission control in Houston hears it and sees it. They will actually assume control of the flight at the point where the spacecraft flies beyond the tower. The tower is just a limiting factor. It has nothing really to do with the tower being there. It's just a point in space where that spacecraft is high enough that it's flying. To all intents and purposes, once in flight, the flight director, of course, takes over, and they keep going round and round. Now, the tracking stations out across the Atlantic will be reporting back, and there's a critical tracking station that we will be listening for here. That station's in Madrid, Spain, as the spacecraft on that tracking map that you see it, on the big tracking map up at the top of your picture, top left, when the spacecraft flies out, arching over Europe on the first orbit. At that point, the flight director will make the go, no-go for the crew as they are then given the go to at least stay in orbit for, stay in space for a few orbits. All right, I think that's the picture from Houston up to this moment. Let's stand by with you at the Cape.
Okay, Roy, thank you. We feel we have about 45 seconds to go now until the 9-minute hold is over. And at that point, let's talk just a moment about what you'll be hearing. You will be hearing the voice of Hugh Harris, who will start in about 30 seconds from now. And the computers will take over this launch at this point at 9 minutes, and the ground launch sequencer initialization will start. And from then on, it'll be in the hands of the computers, and what you'll be hearing mainly will be the voice of launch control here at the Kennedy Space Center, Hugh Harris. We won't do much talking unless we feel that he's getting too complicated, so you'll hear the real words about this launch.
This is Shuttle launch control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. We are approximately 26 seconds away from picking up the countdown at the T-minus 9-minute point. 9 minutes remaining between now and 7 a.m. when we expect to have a liftoff of America's first space shuttle. The launch team has been briefed on the way in which a halt can be called to the countdown. During the final 9 minutes of the countdown, and we're coming out, we're at T-minus 9 minutes and counting. The launch events are being controlled by the ground launch sequencer now. That has been initiated, and that will be in control up to T-minus 25 seconds when they switch to the onboard redundant set launch sequencer. The ground launch sequencer is a part of the launch processing system and operates by relaying commands to the orbiter's onboard computers, which then report back to the launch processing system that the commands have been executed. The primary job of the computers is to check that all of the launch commit criteria, such as propellant loads, temperatures, pressures, and other measurements, are satisfactory. The primary chase aircraft have taken off. A third T-38 will take off at the T-minus 5-minute mark. The timing of this plane is such a tight window that a 15-second delay would mean that they would not be in the proper position at launch. The sleek T-38 supersonic trainers have such critical timing because of the small fuel load that they carry. T-minus 7 minutes, 52 seconds, and counting.
the voice of Hugh Harris from Launch Control.
Approximately 40 seconds away from movement of the orbiter access arm. This is the final arm, which was to be moved out of the way to provide for the orbiter to clear the tower properly. This may be a very interesting launch to watch from the standpoint that the orbiter is able to translate slightly horizontally as it begins to lift off, and it also does a roll maneuver which will place it, the orbiter sort of on its back as it goes towards the proper inclination to the equator. T-minus 7 minutes, 7 seconds and counting. T-minus 7 minutes and counting. And we have retraction of the orbiter access arm, beginning to move back first away from the orbiter and then to swing away. This was the walkway attached to the service structure and used by the crew to walk to the orbiter. The crew has been advised to lower their helmet visors. Very slow movement by the orbiter access arm. T-minus 6 minutes, 29 seconds and counting. The crew is beginning the APU pre-start. The start begins at the 5-minute point in the countdown. T-minus 6 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. The APUs are turbine devices fueled by hydrazine, which provides hydraulic power to change the angle of the engines and the flight surfaces on the orbiter. T-minus 5 minutes, 59 seconds and counting. Pilot Bob Crippen had begun that APU pre-start, which started about 48 seconds from now. The development flight instrumentation, which measures the stresses on the orbiter during flight, have been turned on, and recorders store information for playback after landing. T-minus 5 minutes, 30 seconds, mark and counting. Pilot Bob Crippen has signified the auxiliary power units are ready to be started. T-minus 5 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. Coming up on the 5-minute point, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. T-minus 5 minutes and counting. We have had a go for APU start. APU start is in work. This is a start sequence. The final chase plane is taken off from Patrick Air Force Base. T-minus 4 minutes, 42 seconds and counting. T-minus 4 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. Once we get the APU start, we have a total of 12 minutes of hydrazine supply for running the APUs prior to a liftoff. Everything going very smoothly in this count. The APU start is complete. T-minus 4 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. As preparation for main engine ignition, the main fuel valve heaters have been turned off. T-minus 3 minutes, 57 seconds and counting. The final helium purge on the shuttle main engine has been started in preparation for engine start. The liquid oxygen replenish system has been turned off in preparation for pressurization of the tanks for the launch. T-minus 3 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. The elevon, speed brake, and rudder are being moved through a pre-programmed pattern to assure that they'll be ready for use in flight. T-minus 3 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. The shuttle is now on internal power. However, the fuel cells are still receiving their fuels from the ground support system for one more additional minute. Coming up on T-minus 3 minutes, T-minus 3 minutes and counting. The engine gimbal or movement check is underway to assure they're ready for flight control. T-minus 2 minutes, 52 seconds. The LOX valve on the external tank has been closed and pressurization has begun. After the tank is pressurized, the hold capability is limited to 3 minutes 36 seconds. T-minus 2 minutes 40 seconds and counting. The fuel cell ground supply of oxygen and hydrogen has been terminated, and the vehicle is using its onboard supply. T-minus 2 minutes 25 seconds and counting. T-minus 2 minutes 15 seconds. The pressure in the LOX tank is at flight pressure. Coming up on just 2 minutes away from launch. T-minus 2 minutes mark and counting. The liquid hydrogen vent valve has been closed and flight pressurization is underway. T-minus 1 minute 50 seconds and counting. Chuck Hannon has just said smooth sailing, baby, to astronauts John Young and Bob Crippen. T-minus 1 minute 35 seconds and counting. T-minus 1 minute 20 seconds and counting. We can see the purges of the main engines as we prepare for ignition. T-minus 1 minute 10 seconds and counting. Liquid hydrogen tank is at flight pressure. T-minus 1 minute mark and counting. The firing system for the sound suppression water will be armed in just a couple seconds from now. It has been armed. T-minus 45 seconds and counting. T-minus 40 seconds and counting. The development flight instrumentation recorders are on. T-minus 35 seconds. We're just a few seconds away from switching to the redundant sense sequencer. T-minus 27 seconds. We have gone for redundant set sequencer start. T-minus 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15, 14, 13, T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. Liftoff of America's first space shuttle. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Roger. Columbia, Houston, you're go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Roger, Columbia, on the nice ride. You're lofting a little bit. You'll probably be slightly high at staging.
1 minute 45 seconds coming up on go, no go.
Columbia, you're negative seats.
That call up says that Columbia, the altitude is too high for ejection seat use.
Columbia, your go for SRB step.
2 minutes 4 seconds, standing by for SRB SEP confirmation.
Roger on the SIP, Columbia.
Mark, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Confirm solid rocket booster SIP.
That means those two rockets on either side of the main fuel tank have separated from the spacecraft right on schedule.
2 minutes, 30 seconds. On-board guidance is converging his program. Columbia is now steering for its precise window in space for main engine
It's about 30 miles up in the air now, about 23 miles out over the Atlantic, and it is now traveling.
Altitude 42 nautical miles.
The solid rocket boosters have separated from the spacecraft right on target. It's about 30 miles in the air. It's about 23 miles downrange, and the space shuttle is now traveling at about 3,500 miles an hour after a stunning launch.
3 minutes. Young and Crippen really moving out now. Velocity now reading 6,200 feet per second.
Everything going
Mark, 3
perfectly.
minutes, 15 seconds. Columbia now 51 nautical miles in altitude, 66 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 6,500 feet per second.
It's being powered now by the liquid oxygen and
3 minutes,
hydrogen in
30
the external
seconds.
tank.
Columbia now 55 nautical miles in altitude, 78 nautical miles
It's
downrange.
burning that up at a very rapid rate because it's going to be through with that in about another 5 minutes, right?
Mark, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Standing by for a return status check and mission control by Flight Director Neil Hutchinson. Columbia given a green to continue.
It, for those
Mark,
of us...
3 minutes, 55 seconds. Standing by for a press d'amico, which says Columbia should lose one engine.
Columbia, stand by, press d'amico.
Columbia continues flying forward, coming up on negative return.
Press for MECO.
That was a little early. That indicates above normal engine performance. They're getting all the boost they need.
Mark, 4 minutes, 8.
What they're doing, MECO, as a main engine cutoff is what they're talking about.
That's right. That's right.
Negative return.
Okay, negative return means they can
Mark, 4 minutes,
no longer
25.
come back and abort
5 seconds.
land at Cape Kennedy.
So something
that call
happened the
up
next
from
thing that we wrote it in Spain.
And it would have to
Capcom
take
Brandon
two
Stein,
engines to
Columbia
get
now
into that
committed to
situation.
space travel. Young and Crippen can no longer turn around and return to the launch site.
Columbia, Houston, we're showing both ohms PC transducers off scale high.
Mark, 4 minutes, 45 seconds. The flash evaporator is activated on board to cool Columbia.
There's an enormous amount of heat generated there, and they've got an evaporator system that has worked now, and later they'll shoot the heat out into space, and we'll talk about that later on.
Why are the transducers off-scale high?
I believe I heard John say in the cabin that they were off-scale low, which indicates it's probably a sensor problem due to that launch vibration. Those are the fuel tank pressures for the orbital maneuvering engines that they'll use
Columbia now
after
75
cutoff.
nautical miles in altitude, 202 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 11,000 feet per second. A status check and mission control by Flight Director Neil Hutchinson.
Columbia, Houston, your go at 5:30, MECO, 8+34.
Right on.
Mark, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. That call up from Capcom Brandon Stein says that Columbia's trajectory, navigation, and engine performance look good.
Columbia, reading you loud and clear.
Okay, you're clear, a little weak. Mark, 5 minutes, 55 seconds.
Columbia, we just switched over Bermuda. Voice should be getting better here in a second.
Okay, that's good. 6 minutes. Columbia now 76 nautical miles in altitude, 280 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 13,000 feet per second.
And you'll be able to hear their voices from Bermuda before long from the tracking station there.
Columbia, Houston, could we have the cryo heaters, please? And Columbia, your single engine rota.
Mark,
That means
6
now they
minutes,
can lose
25
two
seconds.
engines and still land at
That call
rota.
up from Capcom Brandon Stein says
But
that
all
if
three
two
are still
engine
in.
failure occurred, Columbia is capable of an emergency landing at Rotor Naval Air Station, Spain. Mark, 6 minutes, 40 seconds. Columbia pitching over now, diving to increase velocity, decrease altitude, giving Columbia her most favorable attitude. Columbia now 72 nautical miles in altitude, 373 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reading 16,400 feet per second.
That's right on the money, isn't it, Joe?
Right on the money.
Yeah.
And the cutoff time's
Standing
within
by
2
for a
seconds
single
of
engine
program.
Press d'Amico call up from Capcom Brandon Stein.
So a perfect launch and a perfect mission so far.
So far, so good.
Absolutely thrilling to see that thing
Columbia,
go.
your single engine, press per Miko.
Okay, now they can lose
Mark
2 engines
20
and
seconds.
still get to
That
orbit.
report says that Young and Crippen can achieve orbital insertion even if 2 engines go out.
And in about 1
Mark,
minute, the
7
main
minutes,
engine will
30
cut off.
seconds. Columbia, 67 nautical miles in altitude, 485
Very
nautical miles
shortly,
downrange.
it'll start to
G-force
throttle
is
back
zooming
to
for Young and
prevent
Crippen now up to
overstressing the
3 Gs.
aircraft as the fuel tanks get lighter and lighter.
Mark, 7 minutes, 45 seconds.
Should be happening now.
Columbia's main engine
Cutting
slowly
back to
being
60%.
throttled back now. Should be
Not
throttled at
quite. They'll
65%.
gradually throttle back to
6
maintain
seconds before
3
main engine
Gs, a
cutoff.
certain
Status check in
acceleration.
the control center.
And then just before cutoff, they'll throttle back to a
Columbia, Houston, you're go at 8.
65% prep for
Mark, 8
shutdown.
minutes.
Which is coming up in 30 seconds from now.
Columbia now 63 nautical miles in altitude, 606 nautical miles downrange. Mark, 8 minutes, 15 seconds. Columbia now 63 nautical miles in altitude, 650 nautical miles downrange. Standing by now for main engine cutoff.
Mexico 25670 up at 220 feet per second.
Right on. Right on.
Roger, Columbia.
Cut off the main engines means that they can, they're
Confirmed
now just
shutdown.
heading
Columbia, the Gemini
for their
Dual
planned
should go
orbit.
in Space, not yet in orbit.
To get enough of a kick in the seat of the pants to get them up there.
Separation.
Now they'll separate from the external tank 20 seconds after cutoff.
Okay, we've had SEP.
That's
They've got
it.
They've got it. Rates were low. SEP was on
Roger, we
time.
confirm the SEP, Columbia.
And 2 minutes from cutoff, they will
9 minutes,
burn
3
the orbital maneuvering
seconds.
engines.
Confirm external tank separation. Columbia now performing an evasive maneuver.
Now John is at the
Moving
controls. You're
below
moving
and
it out
beyond
of
and translating
John
the
is
north
moving it
external
away.
tank. Young
That's
should
right.
see it moving
John
away out
Young,
his
that is.
window.
And as far as we're concerned here on Earth, it's upside down as of the moment.
They're heads down. Of course, they don't
Yeah.
feel that.
I know
They're-
that.
They're weightless now, and they're not in orbit yet. The external tank is going to re-enter in the Indian Ocean and break up. And that's what the orbiter would do if they don't do the series of 2 burns that are coming up. But they've got 3
9
ways
minutes,
to go.
40 seconds, go, no go status
I figure
check,
that
mission
the,
control for the first
external
burn.
tank will break up over the Indian Ocean, and it has what they call a footprint. That is a track that will go. It'll be about 100 miles long and 60 miles wide. They don't expect it to hit on land anywhere. That they've pretty well.
But it left on time. I mean, it broke away on time, so that means it won't hit Australia, which was the main worry.
That's right.
That's right.
1 burn attitude.
Now they're going to have their first orbital burn. They're going to turn on the orbital maneuver subsystem.
Grade, moving Columbia forward and higher on her flight path, placing Columbia in orbit.
These are 2 little other engines that are in the back of the Columbia as well. And we'll be back checking on all of this. Everything going
10 minutes,
extremely
22
well for the Columbia Space Shuttle on
Columbia,
this its
67
historic
nautical miles
first
altitude.
launch, going very well indeed. We'll have continuing coverage of it all
1160
right after
nautical
this.
miles downrange.
NBC's coverage of the first space shuttle will continue in a moment. You're watching 17 WTVO Rockford.
Help Woodsy spread the word. Tell your friends what you've heard. No matter where you go, you can plant a tree to grow. In the city or in the woods, trees keep America looking good.
I'm Woodsy Owl. Trees fight air pollution, noise pollution, and sight pollution, so give a hoot. Don't pollute. Plant a tree today.
Trees keep America looking good. Hoot, hoot.
If we kids had been immunized, we wouldn't be in here. We'd be up there. That's where we kids belong. Please, take the time. Have us immunized.
The Illinois State Medical Society.
Here, have a drink.
Yeah, come on.
Hey, buddy! Hey, have a beer!
Some people think drinking is really the thing to do. It's not. Because if you start now, you're headed for big trouble later. If your idea of a good time is drinking, you've got a problem already. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
It's the best in motion pictures, now showing at Cherryvale 1, it's Harry's War, rated PG, the story of a man who declares war on the government. At Cherryvale 2, a mysterious creature is on the loose in The Howling, rated R. Tess, rated PG, is now in its 4th week at Cherryvale 3. Thomas Hardy's classic tale of a young woman victimized by society. At the Times, it's Excalibur, rated R, a new epic about the life of King Arthur. Now at the Robin, it's 1941 with John Belushi, Coal Miner's Daughter starring Sissy Spacek, and the Friday and Saturday bonus, Rich Kids, all 3 are rated PG. At the Sunset, it's an evening with Bruce Lee, The Chinese Connection, and Fists of Fury. And the Friday and Saturday bonus is The Hollywood Nights, and all movies are rated R. Now at the Dixon Theater, it's the great hit from last winter, Stir Crazy, with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, rated R. Harry's War, rated PG, is now at the State Theater in Freeport. For the best movies anywhere, attend the Northern Illinois Theater.
By Madrid, Spain. We would like to show you the launch again, the videotapes that we've made here of the launch that did take place just at 7 o'clock this morning, precisely on time, a textbook launch of the shuttle after a bad day earlier in the week. And here it is now.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. Space shuttle, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Never came close to the tower. They were a little concerned about that.
And it's turning around. Pitching over. I have never seen one of these in person. And I can't tell you, I don't want to disappoint you in any way, the kind of electronic distance between the television and the thrill of being there to watch it go is considerable.
Made your pants legs flap.
I'm going to tell you, that's what one of the guys suggested. It makes your pants leg flap. It's all the 4th of Julys you've ever seen rolled into one, and that's about as good a description as I know. I'll never forget it.
At about this stage in the launch, astronaut Crippen, who was on his first trip into space, said, "What a view, what a view." And he's just starting to see the great views.
John will be constantly calling him back from the window to do the job.
They are now... well, they're way out there now. They're about 1,800 miles, I suppose, more than that. Probably over 2,000 miles downrange, heading for the coast of Africa, is it, Joe?
Yes, they go down over Africa and out into the Indian Ocean. They'll be picked up by our Indian Ocean station at, what is it, 40, no, it's before 44 minutes, about 35 minutes.
So this is not where they are now. If you're looking at your screen, it's where they were when the launch went off. A lot of very, very happy people in launch control here. It all, after many years of delays and an awful lot of money, it's working perfectly.
NASA, as you might expect, was very eager to have this happen because they figured that all the criticism of the space shuttle, the space transport system, will begin to diminish considerably once they get off in good shape as they have here today. We have some other reaction now to the launch.
7 feet per second. Duration of the burn, 1 minute 27 seconds. Resulting orbit, apogee 132 nautical miles, perigee 57 nautical miles. So Columbia now in orbit, not yet her desirable orbit. At the start of OMS 1, Columbia was about 400 feet below, 150 feet in front, and 350 feet north of the external tank. Also, Columbia weighed 4.5 million pounds at launch. She now weighs about 214,000 pounds.
So they're hitting all the markers, aren't they, Joker?
Not quite.
This is Shuttle Control, Houston.
If they're at 132 miles up now in apogee, they were supposed to be 172 miles.
No, not yet.
No.
The first one was
They're
130.
speaking nautical miles, and your chart is in statute miles, which accounts for the the difference.
The first one was, as I saw it listed, was at 130 and 57
They're
perigee.
targeted for a 130-mile nautical mile circular orbit.
Right.
After the second burn. And that is 170 statute miles.
130, 130 on there. That's right.
Well, then they are on the money.
Yep,
They are on
right
the
on the
money.
money. Okay, Bob Bazell standing down in the press site, and he's with a couple of people who have been here watching all of this, a couple of Californians, I think. Bob?
True, and I must say, I've been preparing for this thing for months, and it was so overwhelming that I can't even put it into words. You think you can be cynical about things, but the emotion to this, our Miami bureau chief, Don Brown, was sitting next to me. Tears were coming down his eyes, and he's a pretty tough guy. We have with me two guys, Steve Spielberg, the filmmaker, Governor Jerry Brown of California. Governor, what did you think?
It was just great. Just watching that thing just take off, it made me feel like we got a lot of strength in this country, and I hope we take some heart from that and start expanding our commitment to space. It's real important for our spirit as well as our economy.
Mr. Spielberg, what did you think when you saw that?
Well, it sort of puts everything that we do in movies in quick diminishing perspective. It was a remarkable experience. It was a remarkable experience.
I think it was for everybody out here. Thank you very much. And John?
Everything going well. The spaceship is on its way, and we'll be back with more coverage after this.
Carol? Ooh, who's your paper hanger? Me. You can't even hang up your coat. It's easy.
With Flare Squares, you just dip and flip to decorate.
Flare Squares, the tough, washable, easy-to-use wall covering you just dip into water, slip into place, and decorate anything from a wall to a room.
It looks terrific, honey. But what do I owe the paper hanger?
How about dinner and a movie?
For your nearest Flare Squares store, call 800-345-8500.
Like millions of people across the nation, Kathy switched from Scope to Listermint because Listermint is better. She told her brother Larry.
Of course I switched to Listermint because clinical tests prove no leading mint mouthwash works better or keeps breath fresher longer.
Larry told his friend John.
You bet I switched because Listermint tastes as good as it works. Now just watch how I can tell.
Switch to Listermint or try Listermint Cinnamon. They taste as good as they work.
We're the neighborhood professionals. We're proud to be the one. You know we're working hard for you the moment we've begun. We'll work each day to find a way until the job is done. We're America's #1 bestseller, Century 21.
Your home is the most important investment of your life. Trust it to #1.
Century 21.
Boy, I really feel good all under.
Oh, Harry.
I got my Hanes underwear on. Wash after wash, my Hanes underwear goes back to the comfortable shape it had when I took it out of the package. You should try Hanes. Keeps its shape to make you feel good all under.
How many?
2 Hanes, please. 2 tickets, please.
Hanes makes you feel good all under.
Now on sale. Men's and boys' all-cotton underwear and boxers.
The spacecraft is now heading for Africa. Astronaut Crippen told Houston just a moment or two ago, he said, "I'm sorry I could not see Gibraltar. I was too darn busy." He may get another chance to see quite a lot.
Just got to go from Houston for OMS 2, which is the orbital maneuvering system that will put them into their final orbit. That should be coming up in about 24 minutes or so, if everything continues to go as well as it is.
And Jim Cummins has a report for us from here at the Kennedy Space Center.
John, at the moment the rockets fired, there was a collective gasp out here among the crowd, and exactly 5 minutes later, loud applause once they knew the astronauts were safely on their way. I'm standing here with Gordon Brown and his wife, Hilda. Mr. Brown has worked on the Shuttle project over the years and has seen many launches. How did this one compare to all the others you've seen?
Oh, this was fantastic in comparison to any of the others. We were all waiting very expectantly, and it just went beautifully. We hope the rest of the mission goes as well as the launch.
How was it different from the others you've seen?
Well, it's just more anticipation. You have a manned launch situation here, and you're very anxious that the astronauts are safe in there and everything goes well, and you have solid rockets. It's an all-new configuration that we're dealing with here, and I thought it went real well.
How about you, Mrs. Brown? You got a big smile?
I was so excited. We have a beautiful spot here. I took some pictures. I hope my camera take it pretty well.
We had a beautiful spot indeed. One NASA official said from this spot, even though we're farther away from the launch site than other viewing spots, we had the best profile of the launch, and it was spectacular, and all we're hearing around here are superlatives. John?
Well, thank you. All you're hearing from us in here is superlatives. Joe, have you seen anything that isn't going the way it was supposed to go?
I expected 3 or 4 malfunctions during launch, just as a matter of statistics.
Yeah.
We didn't get any. We had a couple of sensors in the OMS fuel tanks.
Yeah.
That was it. It's been totally normal.
Well, wish we could have been along.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
That's Crippen, isn't it?
Yep, that's Crippen, the new veteran.
Right, he's first base flight, and as Joe Crippen said just a moment ago, he's no longer a rookie.
23 minutes mission elapsed time. Columbia, we're 20 seconds from LOS. We'd like the flash evaporator heater feed line system Bravo to 2.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And we're 13 seconds from LOS. Configure LOS. We'll see you at Indy at 36 plus 00.
That LOS means loss of signal. They're leaving one area where they can be heard and heading for another.
The flash evaporator is very important because that's the cooling system that's working there now, and that thing heats up. If you think you have trouble with your car, there are all the systems going on a hot summer day. Imagine what they're going through up there. Later on, we'll be talking about this. They're going to open up the cargo doors, and they've got some evaporators in there as well, radiators that throw all the radiators throw all the heat out into space, and that'll be the next big dramatic thing after they hit orbit with OMS-2. That will come in about an hour and 10 minutes or so.
And we will show you that on television.
Because we expect to get live television pictures at that time.
We'll be back with more coverage after this.
NBC's coverage of the first space shuttle will continue in a moment.
Sunday on Chips, Punch races to save a go-kart menace from disaster. Then, 5 major motion pictures will be about swords and sorcerers this summer. This Sunday, you can see the first. It's warriors, demons, and goddesses in a gigantic clash. Fugitive from the Empire, a world premiere. You've never seen anything like it on television. Then, 3 angels are sent back to Earth to prove they belong up there in heaven on Earth. A night of adventure and fantasy on NBC.
If there's room in your heart and home for a deserving dog or cat, then now's the time to visit Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary on North 1st. Big or small, canine or feline, they all need and very much deserve your love. In return, they'll give you countless hours of joy.
We're back at the Kennedy Space Center where we have witnessed an extremely successful launch of the Columbia Space Shuttle orbiter this morning, now heading for the Indian Ocean, and we'll be hearing from it again before too long. And then later on this morning, we'll be showing you television pictures from space as they open the big cargo doors. It was an extraordinary liftoff here, the first test flight of the Columbia orbiter, this time with 2 people on board, astronauts John Young and Robert Crippen. Here it is.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. Liftoff of America's first space shuttle. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Hardware to get up into the air and to get it up back fast with that surge of power.
Well, the one thing about the shuttle is that it sort of jumps off the pad as opposed to the Apollo launches that we saw that went up very slowly and sort of majestically and gracefully. This thing popped right in the air.
The thrust-to-weight ratio is higher. With 7 million pounds of thrust and only 4.5 million of weight, it just leaps up.
Yeah.
This is a drag racer. You can be great in a quarter mile, I'll tell you, to have that one. You could win all sorts of dollar bills.
Now, later this morning, and let's talk about that for a moment, in about an hour and 5 minutes, they are going to open the hatch on, let's call it that, the hatch on the back of Columbia. A very important maneuver, because if that doesn't work, they're going to have to come back. But that's the cargo hold, and they're going to open that up, and it does a number of things. We'll be back on the air for that. We're about to go off now. But we'll be back on the air for that at Eastern Standard Time at about 8:35. There will be television pictures of part of that from space. And that is an important maneuver, isn't it, Joe?
That's extremely important.
They'd have to abort if they didn't get those open.
If they don't open the doors, they don't get the cooling. And if there's anything wrong with the doors, they won't open them.
Okay, well, we'll be back to show you and describe all of that for you at about 8:35 Eastern Time this morning. NBC News continues its coverage of the Columbia Space Shuttle.
This special report has been produced by NBC News.
Monday, Bob Hope celebrates spring with Brooke Shields, Lonnie Anderson, Melissa Manchester, and more.